All right. It's another episode of the Rich by Monday podcast. I am your host, Jared Wilkins, along with my player partner, as he said, Lawrence Creighton. And this is the episode where we tell you how to get rich.
It only took to the second episode. Now you got through the first one. Now we're gonna give you all the gems. The gems. All you gotta do is tap in.
All you got to do is get 3 more people.
And they get 3 more people.
All right, so what's going on, man? How you been doing this week?
I'm doing all right. I was gonna ask you how you felt about the past, or the first episode, and I couldn't watch it. Not for like any reason of that it was bad or good. It's just I think I have to get used to seeing myself on camera or hearing myself on camera. So yeah, I still haven't got through it, but we've been getting some really good feedback.
Yeah, I seen that. I did notice that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I kind of went through it. I didn't really watch the whole thing. I kind of just skimmed through it from time to time. I took breaks. I don't know. It's kind of hard to sit through and listening to yourself talk. I felt the way. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to hear me.
Yeah.
Like, I said that already.
Right. It's like I was there. I heard it.
But the reception has been good, surprisingly. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I do like to do things like a certain way. And so when we did it, it was kind of like, oh well, it's not done like this, so I kind of don't really care. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not the way I want it. But everybody was like, yo, this is awesome. And I'm like, really? Like, what? All right.
I think the way we started is the perfect way for both of us because we are that way. Very analytical, like, nah, I know exactly how I want it. I see it. I want X, Y, and Z. And if X, Y, and Z is not there, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And I don't want to start. So I'm like, so I kept saying, like, we just got to press play. Just press play, turn it on. We'll worry about, up in production if we want to. Mics and stuff like that, because I mean we the same that way. Like, no, it's not right. It's not right, so I'm not starting.
Yeah.
So right. I think, and that's basically what we're doing. We're kind of building everything on the back end as we go, which kind of feels good to me to do it that way.
I mean, I agree. I think that's why that's why it's gotten the reception it has. I mean, we're not talking like we got 2 million views or nothing, but it's just from people that that we know, or people that, or just random people who happen to listen, and they're like, oh, okay, like this is actually pretty dope. I think that's why it was so like, I don't want to say surprising, but just I think that's why it's appreciated, because it's like an honest, yeah, it's like an honest beginning to something. And I think more people now are willing to kind of grow along with the things that they like versus having it be like a already, dialed in process.
Yeah, a super polished type thing, and everything's perfect. Like, where'd this person come from? I feel like him is coming. So, and which is some more feedback I got was that exact same thing. Was, I appreciate that it's not super polished and everything's there, and it's like, where'd these people come from?
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy that. I've seen other, what they call now creators that's creating something from the beginning, and you see their whole journey, and you're there with them, like, oh, okay, this is cool. I remember when you was X, Y, and Z, and it's like, yeah, you get to be on that journey with them. So I mean, hopefully, I think people have that same, they walk that same road with us. So we'll see.
Yeah. Did you I want to ask you too, man. Did you get a chance to see what's it called? The Snyder's Cut thing, the Justice League thing?
Not when you told me about that, Um, I was like, that sounds like I've seen it before, but it's basically his extended cut,
Yeah.
like the real cut that he really wanted to put out.
So my thing is like, it's funny because I had just watched Last Chance You on Netflix, and
Okay.
I didn't watch the whole series in a day because it was like 9 episodes. But I probably binged like 5 or 6 episodes because one of the kids actually played at my high school.
Mm,
So for like 6 months or something, I don't know, before
mm,
he transferred, or my old high school. So
mm.
I was watching it. Our old basketball coach was in there, and it was dope. You know what I mean?
Okay, give us like the synopsis of what it's about.
Basically, well, it's about you should watch it actually. You'd like it. I was getting
What is it
laughed
called?
at.
You?
It's called
Yeah.
Last Chance You, but it's the basketball version. So they have football versions, and then they just had the basketball one at
Mm,
East LA College. It's a junior college. So it talks
okay.
about the coach who turns the whole program around.
Okay. Is it really like reality TV or is it actual?
It's real life. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's all these kids who were like good at basketball. They were like top players in high school. For
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, they didn't go on to play in college or overseas yet. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're trying to get a D1 scholarship. So they got to prove themselves at the junior college level. And so the coach has to
Mm-hmm.
like manage
Okay.
all these personalities um, at the same time as like try to build a winning program without having no money, and
Mm-hmm.
and just battling all the things you battled throughout the season. Um,
Right.
but it was dope though. Like it really made me like, because we grew up playing ball. I grew up in a basketball household, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so it was really Davita was laughing at me because because she said like, I'm in here reliving my childhood,
Right.
watching them.
Right.
But
And basketball dreams,
yeah,
hoop
but
dreams, ball
uh,
is life.
so I watched like 5 or 6 episodes of that, and the funny thing is like you can breeze through that no problem, but
Mm-hmm.
the Snyder's cut thing is like 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And when I seen it, when it popped up on the screen and it said runtime like 4 hours, and I was like, what the hell makes them think I want to watch a movie for 4 hours?
Right.
Realizing
Right.
I just, you know, like, okay, we do binge watch, but like, I don't know if I want to watch this for 4 hours.
It's something different about having it, like you said, cut up like in hour increments.
So it was all right though. I mean, I'm not, I'm not mad. But the thing, what I got from it though was like, I think who your favorite DC character is kind of says a lot about you, right?
Yeah.
And so I was watching it, and of course, I've always liked Batman.
I was gonna say Batman.
You see, there you go. So Batman had a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? He had like a lair. You know, he had a lair where like
Right, right. He definitely right.
where just like we were talking about that one time, where it's like you get so tied up in things that you're doing, you just
Mhm,
automatically assume that like when the country or when people are in need, you
mhm.
just assume that somebody has been working on the thing that we need.
Right,
Well,
right.
Batman is that guy. It's like, oh, well, we need this. And like Batman's like, oh, I got a gadget, right?
Yeah, been working on that.
And and it looks like a bat. So not only did he have time to make it, he had time to make it look like a bat.
Yeah, he also branded it. I feel
So,
back then Batman had a foreign, and that's just so accurate. Yeah,
and and it's funny because like you'll watch the video or you'll watch the movie, and like Batman be getting he be getting beat up.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Most of the time.
and there was times where like he wasn't around, and Vita was like, "Yo, where's Batman?" And
uh,
I had to think like, I mean, Batman is a regular person. Like he got bills.
right, right.
I
He
mean,
take
like,
he taking Wayne Enterprises. Like he actually running a business, a company, a multi-billion-dollar business.
I'm like, yo, Batman just might be the whitest superhero ever. Because they asked him, they said, what is your superpower? And he said, I'm rich.
Right.
And so it's like because you got money, you can stand next to Superman and,
Right. Right. Yeah,
and
asshole. Yeah.
like it was crazy. So just watching that movie though, like I was like, you know what? I see why I like Batman because it's like he's always working and building on things. He just has something that's like, you know, he always has the thing you need, and it didn't come from like a superpower.
Right, right. You
And
got to the regular guy story, the underdog story. I definitely attach on to that for sure.
yeah, which is I don't know why I didn't realize that until now, but
Yeah, talk about that. Um, yeah, because stand up to Superman. Well, I think I've watched some of the cuts from it um, on YouTube, and they were basically just saying um, it was really a Superman movie because like everybody kind of stand back. It's like Superman here now, like he'll handle it.
yeah, it kind of was like that. It kind of it not to ruin it, but it kind of was like everybody was playing around. It's like, all right, cool, Daddy's home. Like,
Yeah. I mean, what Aquaman gonna do once he out the water? Like
man,
really? Like what?
weak, bro. This is what I'm saying. Like this one, like Batman is the only real. He has to be the only real like superhero. Like Aquaman don't got no bills. Like he lives in the water. You know what I mean? Like all he has to do is dive in the water and he's home. Like,
Right.
like he's a squatter.
He
You know what I
got
mean?
he
You're not even a
got
real
no responsibilities. Right. He out here chasing tail, hanging out,
drinking.
working.
How you drunk swimming all the time? That's what he do. He just get drunk, go on a walk,
Right.
swim, and beat up other guys because he's bigger. Like that just I don't know
Yeah.
who guy.
Marine bully.
Exactly. So Batman actually got bills. You know what I mean? He always got the gadgets. He got the fly cars.
Mhm.
He got suits. You know what I'm saying? Nobody
He
knows
got
who he is.
yeah. Maybe that's what you want to be. It's like which is funny. I just want to be rich and like nobody know me.
Thank you. That's what I'm
that's
saying.
that's
I think
that's
I think
like
who your superhero choice is in that regard says a lot about like you in a way. Or maybe it's
mhm,
just me overanalyzing it because that's what I do. But like,
right.
you know,
I ain't never put too much thought into it, but I've always liked Batman. Um, for sure. I don't know, even as a kid, before I could, analyze it, he was a player in a Lamborghini that he built himself.
yeah. And he had a Batmobile. You know, maybe that's what it is. Like because he's a like he's like a superhero, but he still does like normal people things. Like he still
Hmm.
drives. You know,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like he doesn't just fly. He doesn't just jump and now I'm flying to another planet. It's like no, I have to drive there.
Right.
To you, right?
Hmm.
But I'm gonna
So,
take the Batmobile.
do you think um, someone would take Batman as serious they do if he didn't have, the money or the fly car, the gadgets? If he just a guy that says, "I want to make a difference," um, do people in general take that guy seriously?
No, he'd be a clown. Like
It's like if you don't pull up in the Batmobile, like you ain't doing nothing.
nah, like if Batman pulled up in an Uber to like to the fight scene or to the crime scene, whatever, and you see him hop out of Uber, like
Right.
it's not the
Or rephrase, because let's say Batman, he Bruce Wayne still has the money, but he doesn't have like the opulent lifestyle, like the suits or the car. He's just a guy who has money, runs a business, and he wants to help people. Do you think he's still going to be perceived as a guy that can help that person he might be trying to reach out to?
um. I don't know, man, because I feel like it does. I feel like his presence doesn't really hit you unless you see him pull up in something.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
right.
You see him pull up in again the Batmobile or like some type of bat spaceship or whatever. You pulling up in something, and it's like, okay, Batman is here. Like
Right.
it's real.
Right.
I
That
think
that
that leads to part of like his thing.
right. Right. I mean, just perception is a huge thing in our culture. A huge thing.
Hmm.
People will see you coming before you speak. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that's always represented like a representation of who people are.
Hmm.
But it's like one of those things where, you might have a certain level of knowledge, but if you don't pull up in the foreign, I'm not ready to speak to you,
But see,
right?
I feel like that's true. No, that is true when it comes to marketing. Um,
Mhm.
that's true. Like there's no doubt about that. But that's why I call everybody a scam.
Right.
And it's not because I'm just some grumpy old man, but I feel like
But you also that, in addition to,
yeah,
I'm also a grumpy man.
yeah, 100%. But I feel like, man, if a person has to sell you success instead of the process, then like that's a red flag.
Hmm.
Because our success cannot it's likely that it won't be the same.
Right.
So if I'm selling you the success of something, I feel like that person is selling you the lifestyle they want, which is why they're selling it to you. And the only way
Mhm.
they're going to get it is if you buy
If you buy into it, right?
it, right? So instead of someone selling you the process of something that you can then implement, into your everyday life and help enhance your situation versus just trying to be like them
All
or
right.
trying to like there's LeBron James can't sell you how to be LeBron James.
Hmm.
He's you'll never be
Yeah.
9 250 and run like a 4-4. But
Yeah. I
that's
mean, he's LeBron James already in that space. He's in it.
yeah. And so I mean that's but when you understand marketing, like that's the whole foundation to marketing and social proofing is to make people believe that whatever you are or whatever you have is what they need, and that's why they buy it from you. Um,
Right.
and that's why it's so easy to take advantage of it. Like there's a guy you ever heard of Jay Mazzini? This is actually a crazy story, but have you ever
No.
okay? So Jay Mazzini, um, Jay Mazzini was like a guy. From my understanding of the story, he was a guy who wanted to be a rapper, right? And it wasn't working out.
Hmm.
So instead of him continuing to do the rap thing, he decides to scam.
Okay.
That was his only choice: rap or scam.
It
Uh,
sounds like a familiar story.
so what he did was he started a clothing line called like Mazzini Italy, and
Mhm.
he would do videos online talking about um, or promising people money if they
Okay.
bought his stuff, right?
All right.
So, for example, if I say he would say the next 1,000 orders that are made on MazziniItaly.com or whatever his website was, um, I'll pay you guys like $30,000 an order. So
What?
yeah, no, and I'm not exaggerating. It was like that. So for every 1,000 orders, of like $500 or more, I'll pay you $30,000 in cash.
To one person, or is like distributed through
No,
all
like
the?
to each person.
Okay, that's a red flag.
And again, these, we probably or somebody else would probably pick up on that, but there was a lot of people who was just buying his stuff because
Hmm.
people are in need, so they'll buy his stuff, hoping to get the money. Oh, if I spend like my last 800, I'll get
Uh,
30,000 back. To them, it's like, yo, that makes sense.
right.
And in turn, he gets all these people buying all his merchandise.
And this is like retail merchandise, clothes,
Yeah.
clothes.
So you
Okay.
buy all his clothes, and he promises you money, which he never
Hmm.
sends. And
Yeah.
what he would do is he would find like a couple of them, and he would actually like send them a little bit of money
Hmm.
for
And have
social proofing.
proof
Exactly.
concept. Okay.
So when somebody would be like, "Yo, it's a scam," or blah blah blah,
Like, no, such and such got some money. Here,
exactly,
screenshot. Thank you so much for the money. This really did so much for me. I was able to pay my rent, pay my bills. Thank you so much.
exactly.
Hmm.
So he started doing that, but then people slowly started catching on because I guess they started doing math, in terms of like how much money, because he was doing this all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be like every other week. It's like I'll give away $50,000 to the next
Yeah.
100, and when you add it up, he's given away over $100 million,
Mm.
right?
This was Ponzi scheme.
Well, he wasn't giving it away. It was just a scam to get people to buy his stuff.
All of it. Right. Yeah. It's impossible. The numbers don't make sense. It doesn't pencil.
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, so after he started getting some heat from that situation, and he was doing other things, but then he started Bitcoin scamming.
Mm-hmm.
And what he would do is he'd say, "I'd buy if you have Bitcoin for sale, I'll buy it from you at five. I think at 5% over market value."
Okay.
So, and now that someone would say, "Well, why would you pay more than what it's worth?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
His his response is,
Question.
yeah. His response is,
Now, questions. This is good.
yeah. So his response was, what did he say? He said, "Oh, my bank won't allow me to buy anymore. I've reached the limit that they allow. So I'm willing to pay more if you sell it to me."
Okay.
Right?
So you tell somebody something that it can be verified. They can't verify with your bank that that's true. So okay.
So they would set up a situation where he would send a wire, and they would send him the Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And then either he would cancel the wire or he would never do it.
Mm. And since Bitcoin is really like one of those untraceable things, you can't just go to the Bitcoin police and be like, "Hey, I got scammed out of my internet monies."
Exactly. So I think he got, I don't remember the number, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it was over $1 million in Bitcoin.
Mm.
Um, and this is how he got caught though. So he got caught on kidnapping charges.
It's just a whole nother. It just gets stupider.
Yes. So I don't know that story, but what I do
Right.
know is he was actually in court. I believe, like in court at an arraignment or whatever, and they were gonna tell him what his bail would be or whatever, or they were discussing what his bail is gonna be. And during that process is when the information about all the scamming he's done came down from the feds, and they let the
Right.
judge know we have federal charges on this guy that we're going to be bringing to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened like they showed it like live, that the
Right.
judge got the information, and she's like, "Oh no, you're not going anywhere. Like,
Mm.
we just got I just got this information from the feds."
Yeah.
And
Now, Alphabet Boys told us also you did this, this, and this.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You caught.
So
Don't pile some other charges on you since you're here. Since you showed up, we got some more for you.
yeah, so that was like a whole situation, how like someone could take advantage of like social proofing, um,
Mm.
by having all the things that you would think. Well, and to be honest, he really didn't have it, but he would talk a lot. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And then you'd be able to, not to sidetrack, but what people like need to understand is that everything and everyone is for sale, right? If there's a public person, if somebody's a celebrity, they're for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So what he would do is he would go and pay them. He'd go pay celebrities. Like he has a picture with 50 Cent, um, and a few other guys. He would go
Right.
and pay them to be like, like, yo, this is like a marketing campaign.
Right.
This is my clothing line or whatever. I'm cool with 50 Cent, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so again, social proofing, right? Because, well, why would 50 Cent be hanging around a guy who's a thief or whatever, even though 50
Right. Right.
even though he was a drug dealer and all that other stuff. But
Yeah. Why? Um, at what point do we have to, you know, the consumer, when at what point does the consumer have to be a little bit smarter and take some responsibility for what's going on? Um,
I don't know. I think people are smart. I think that's the thing. I think people are smart enough to make the decision. Like I don't think anybody's that dumb.
well,
I just,
maybe they are smart, but they're more so, maybe it's hope that people tapping into, either tap some type of hope. If I give you $800, I'm gonna get 30,000 back. It's kind of like playing a lottery,
I
right?
I think people like to be marketed to.
Yeah.
I think like it's because think about it. We all know what like we all know certain things are marketing, but if something's marketed poorly, it's like nah, they should have did that better. Like we know it's
Right.
marketing.
Makes me better.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if it's, I think people like a good story and they'll buy the story regardless of even if they don't like the product necessarily. I think
Hmm.
people will initially buy the story,
Right, right.
so that to them it has to make sense. And because like I think social media has kind of ruined our sensitivity to like extravagant things.
Hmm.
So if the more extravagant your social media is, like the more realistic it seems. I don't know why that makes sense, but like
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like so, I'm not gonna say any more names but you do see the ads where it's like, it's pretty ridiculous. But those are the guys who have
Yeah.
success. You know.
Well, there's examples of people who have their social proof is so strong. You can build up to a certain point where if anybody threatens your business or calls you out for something or call you a scammer,
Hmm.
uh, they can actually they can resist it through their social proof. I've seen people online who get called out for scamming, literally scamming, and there's in the comments people just coming to their aid or defense. Oh no, that's not how it is. He's such and such and such. You just hate him.
You know what
You
though?
know,
I feel like I think something that often always that always gets overlooked is the fact that a lot of these people will have multiple social accounts, and it'll be them.
yeah, that's a lot of that. A lot of fake accounts that they have, and they just come back. Now I'm Alicia M, and I really believe in what he's doing. Y'all just hate.
But there's companies that actually like this is their service.
Yeah,
They control thousands of accounts, and they forge engagement, through comments and everything else to make your social look better. Like
I've just that.
that's
There's a documentary on it, and they were actually so the point was to take three random people and make them social media famous.
hmm
So these regular people with, I don't know, maybe 1,000 followers each or whatever, and the social experiment was to make them famous. So they take them to famous Instagram sites. People take pictures. They'll take pictures of them, post them up, have photo shoots, that type of thing. And then as they post more and more, they would start buying followers. So they'll just start slow. They'll buy like, I don't know, 200 followers. Post a few, buy 200 followers, and then in addition to the followers, they'll also buy the likes. So when you post, they'll run up your likes. So let's say you post a picture and now you got, I don't know, like let's say 5,000 followers. Well, we know the numbers have to make sense. If you have 5,000 followers, a certain amount of number of those followers are going to like your post.
exactly.
But in order to make that make sense, they'll buy the likes and run up the likes. In addition to, they also, pump in the comments.
hmm
So y'all kind of random comments like, I don't know, emojis or hearts or, oh yeah, you out here really doing it. And he's just regular bots.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So
They get
so okay, so knowing that right after you know, I guess after you get to a space where you realize that and you've seen it happen, and maybe for us. it's more apparent because like we've been close enough to people who actually do that as a service. And,
Right.
and seeing how they operate other people's social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember going to the studio back in the day. I remember going to the studio and walking into this person's studio, and there was a Grammy nominated singer who was sleeping on the couch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like songs on the radio is pumping, right? Song is pumping. It's everywhere. It's on the radio. He's famous. He's doing interviews, and he was
Mm-hmm.
sleeping on the couch in the studio.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you see, it's like he had his little corner. He had his bag, on the side. Had his little Timberlands in the, in the corner, lined
Yeah.
up all nice. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like when you see that, I understand it in terms of music because that's what music, like the music industry, kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see that um, going into like a space where people are soliciting like information or different products, like
Mm.
I feel a certain way about it. Like this is that kind of like how you feel about it too,
Like soliciting products.
or just like again selling success because
Mm.
selling success, but when when you know all that goes into the marketing,
Yeah.
I feel a way about it.
Um,
And
I
then
mean,
like,
it's
if you speak on it though, so okay, so that, and then if you speak on it, if you tell the truth about the situation, is that hating?
um culturally is hating if you don't support whatever is going on. I don't care what it is.
I don't care about that. I don't
Yeah,
really.
I don't. Um, I don't buy into that narrative, but I know there's a lot of people who do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like, what do you want your position to be, right? So let's say, because I think there's a certain level of savior complex that goes into these people are getting scammed. This is not how it really is. I have to speak out and say something. Um, how can I make that a business?
Yeah.
I can't be out here, putting my cape on and trying to save everybody that's potentially gonna get scammed.
Like Batman.
Yeah, like I got Batman don't have no kids. He
Yeah.
can run. He can run from here to there. He can run around Gotham out here getting it, being lit in his. I gotta get home, put the kids to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so I want to say, how far do you take it, right? Um, for you not to be considered a hater, um, is it okay? So it's kind of levels. Is it okay to say that's not right, and then go on about your business? Is that, or do you say that's not right? This is how it actually works, and this is why it's not right. Or do you take the full route and
Mm-hmm.
make your whole life about calling out things that aren't right, right? And because of the economics of your life, that has to make money, or it has to make some type of uh, change.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that measured? So um, I don't think it's hating, but I think the person who feels like they want to call something out, I think you have to figure out on what level you want to play that game.
You gotta make it make sense.
On what level do you really want to be out here calling things out and telling people how it really is? So it's like they say, like, if you're not gonna do anything about it, like, you might as well just let it go.
Mm. Well, yeah, I get that. Um, and this is one of the reasons why like it was tough for me to because now for those who don't know, we have a private stock group, and we've been helping and teaching people, collaborating with other people just to provide them with like real information about how to invest in the stock market and how to trade and whatnot. And one of the reasons why I began that was because I was doing a lot of complaining, uh, a lot of complaining about a lot of the social media gurus and whatnot. And one day Vita was like, you know, it's fine to be upset and complain, but what are you contributing to? Like, what are you doing to combat that situation?
Right.
And so it's like, well, I can talk about it forever. And even though it's almost like you're in two different worlds. But the only way to really bring change to that situation is to put yourself out there.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons why I started that. And then, of course, you know, you're on board with me with that now, which is great. Um,
Mm.
but I want to say though, so here's going back to what you brought up. I want to say why is um, why is being a hater such like a big deal in
Mm.
the Black community or like within our culture? Like, because we'll let anything slide as long as you don't call us a hater. And it's like, why does that word hold so much weight?
um,
Or why do you think? And, you know, I'm not asking you like the Black spokesperson. Like,
right. Right. Because I'm definitely not out here. This is how all Black people think. I know we're not a monolith. I know everyone thinks differently. So um, I think okay, culturally, when you talk about like who you are as a person,
mhm.
I think there's a few things that you can project to the world, why you are who you are, why I'm real, right, or why I'm successful. And I think um, because a lot of things were kept from us that are like considered success, right? Which is like buying a house, buying a real estate, starting a business, right? And I say kept from us because there's actual federal policies that said if you're not in this neighbor, if you're in the Black neighborhood,
Mhm.
or that area is redlined, and you're not going to be able to get low interest rate loans, or what they call uh, you know what we call now what's called FHA then, or Federal Housing Administration loans, where you can get these 3%, 3.5 loans to buy a house, right? So to and I bring that up, those type of things up, because that's like a level of success, right? Is finance, right? Being involved in the stock market, buying real estate, owning a business. I think if those things are withheld from you, you have to now covet other things that signal that you're successful, right? So those other things that might be easier to attain, like cars, clothes, jewelry, and like your reputation, So if I don't know, in late 1800s, 1900s, and I'm just coming out of horrible situation of slavery, you
Yeah.
know, I don't have the cars, the clothes, the jewelry, so I have my reputation, right? Um, and within that reputation, um, all the things that goes with, I'm gonna be good, honest, those type of things, and I'm not gonna put other people down, right? This is getting into, I'm not gonna hate on such. So I'm coming around with this, right? Um, so I think those type of things, um, those honor, those honor type things, like I'm not gonna snitch, I'm not a hater, da da da. Those things become more important, right? So they're kind of like on top. So um, that's a long way of saying that I think the term to be a hater is so coveted because it was above all other things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. 'Cause at a point in time, your reputation, like you said, it was all you had. So if you tarnish my
yeah,
reputation, I don't have anything.
right,
So why
right.
even put myself out there like that? To
Yeah, yeah. So if I don't have anything, I don't, a lot of things been kept from me. Uh, I don't have much money. Like all you have is your reputation. And I think that's just a broader a broader, being not being a hater is like a broader, like part of your reputation or your rep, right? So I think that's why it's like I'm not a hater. It's like it's part of it. So um but I think we need to get out of that, especially when it comes to calling out things that aren't right, right?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about, okay, so if you're a hater, right? Say that same person, like this, you know, the person who's been kept down or kept from things in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, right? You still got hustlers and scammers, right?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna hate on that man's hustle or scam because I know there's not many other options, right? Illegal options or whatever, or I feel like there's not many options for me. So I think that's part of it too. It's almost like if you hate, um, it's not just hating, it's you're taking food out of that person's mouth,
Yeah.
right? Or you keeping success from them by hating on them. So
Yeah, but like at what point, like if you're a thief, you're not supposed to eat.
yeah.
You know, I don't care if you eat and you stealing from, like, why would I care? Like,
Right, right.
I
It's
mean,
like
like
you stole my TV, you stole my big screen TV, and I'm supposed to not hate on you.
yeah, like what?
I snitch. It's like, look, that's not part of my code. You know, I'm
I
blue
get
collar.
I get the snitching thing, right? Because and not from like a civilian perspective. Like
Yeah,
if you're if you're in the streets and you live a certain way, the snitching is just accountability.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
me and you agreed to do something, and we and by doing this, we made a contractual, a verbal agreement, right?
Right,
Um, that we're
right.
gonna go down with the ship. And so to
Yeah,
throw me under the bus, just so to benefit yourself, like that's weak.
yeah. That'll make you.
That happens in
You.
corporate America.
Yeah,
People won't risk their job for you. Like they'll, if something's going on and the boss comes in and says who did it, everybody gonna point.
right.
You know.
Yeah, him.
So I mean, I get that. I get that perspective. Like it's all about accountability. Like if you do something, you should be able to deal with the consequences without having to, have somebody else deal with them. You know.
Right,
Uh,
right, right. Yeah, yeah. If you live by that code, for sure. I mean,
but
that's what you signed up for.
if you break into my house and steal my TV, yes, I'm filing a police report. That's totally different.
Right. That's if you get away from me.
Exactly.
From.
Because let me tell you, if I see a stranger in my house, listen, if you're a relative and you happen to come in my house and it's dark, you better have a glow in the dark shirt or something. 'Cause I already
Right,
can't see. I can't see anyway. I'm legally blind. So if
right,
I have my contacts on and it's late and you somewhere you're
right.
not supposed to be, listen, I'm sorry. I'm just saying I'm sorry
Right.
right. But
Block it, block
yeah. Um, but anyway, before that tangent, um, just going back to what you were saying as far as being a hater or whatnot. But again, like why if what they're doing is that wrong, why should I support them or why should I ignore that in the name of like capitalism? Like I'm a capitalist, but I'm
it.
not someone who's like for every I don't get behind every example of capitalism.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like, because everything is not okay. There's certain ways, there's enough ways out here for us to make money without stealing from people.
Mhm. Right.
And
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like, when you see certain things, I feel like the easiest way to steal from someone, even if they don't feel they're stealing because of how they're going about it, I think the easiest way to steal from someone is now through like information and digital products.
Hmm.
Because you can
Yeah.
gather something that you don't even like either you don't know, you didn't learn, or whatever, and you might have heard a conversation, and now I can deliver it to you, and I can make a lot of money, and that's fine because you
Hmm.
make money. But I'm not supportive of that if it's not something that's truly a part of who you are.
Yeah. It's just you say like low level hustling or grifting.
I,
These
that's all it
small
is.
scams. It's like don't make me money, so I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
I'm at to more a moral type thing
It's
for that individual person, because whoever, if they provide us, if someone provides a service, right, and let's just say it's informational based, um, even if that person may not, you know, hold the whole wealth of information on that topic, if it's A to B, and said client or customer is willing to pay for that direction A to B, I don't think it's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
It's just certain things that I don't want to do because it's just not in my space. So I'm not gonna like start a cookbook on how to, a digital cookbook on how to make bacon and eggs or whatever, because I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I don't care how much money it will make me,
Yeah.
because I want to do that. So,
But see, that's different though, because again, see, in I know it's just an example, but even that example, that is a process that leads to a specific outcome, right? Now,
right.
you're not selling, like you're not saying, oh, um, buy this book and then you'll make the best bacon and eggs every single time and then you'll create generational wealth. Like that's
Right.
not what you're saying. You're saying, okay, well, this is my recipe book. This is how I make bacon and eggs.
Well, see, that's part of marketing though. So if I market it in that way, this is gonna be the best bacon and eggs you're ever gonna have. And if you make eggs this way, your children's children will never go hungry.
See, see,
Yeah.
it's funny. I know this is an example and it's a joke, but the funny thing is that's exactly how the marketing will be. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I seen one the other day, and I'm not gonna say the guy's name because I'm not a hater, but I seen I seen one the other day, and like, I mean, everybody's gonna know who it is anyway. Um, Guy pulls up in like a fancy car in front of a big house, and he has a bunch of like designer uh boxes like all over his car and all over the ground.
Mhm.
And then he's saying, he's saying something about um, a specific sports player who went broke by not
Mhm.
changing his circle, right?
Mhm.
And then another player who's rich by changing his circle.
Mhm.
Um, and then he Googled how much the person who went broke. He Googled their net worth and showed it. Now we
Okay.
all know, okay, if you Google a person's net worth, like how did Google have that person's financial documents?
No, that's not accurate. It's
Okay,
yeah.
so that was strike one. Strike two was the fact that he said he went broke by not changing his environment because, of course, that fits his product, right? He's selling you. You need to
Yeah.
alienate yourself from the people who will tell you this is some bullshit,
Mhm.
right? Because they don't believe in what we're doing. So,
Yeah. That's part of cult like mentality. That's like level one, is to set someone up for a sale, for a scamming sale. You have to set up telling that person to the people around you are not successful based on X, Y, and Z, and this is why,
mhm.
right? So when it comes up to that person next to you, like friend says, I don't know, this looks like a scam to me, and you look at that person and say, well, you're not successful. It's already been tapped in your head that people around you that's less successful gonna say that this is not how you do it.
You don't have no designer. Like,
Yeah, they're setting up they're setting up a scenario where if anybody questions what they're doing, what they're selling, that is already, it's mute because they're not successful, right? I already told you the people around you, you surround with the five people around you, and you look around, they all broke. You're gonna be the sixth broke person.
yeah.
So if you if you start brainwashing people in that way, um, you set them up to be stuck in a situation where you really have to believe. They keep telling you to believe, you believe and believe, and you already isolate yourself around anybody who can tell you the truth. You're gonna fall into the sales funnel of, keep buying this, keep trying hard. You're not trying hard enough, which
That's,
is I think the saddest thing about these scammers is if you don't make it or if it doesn't work for you, it's your fault.
So to be clear, because I don't I don't want to just be sitting here calling people scammers, right? Without providing, you know, some type of context.
Mhm.
But I like to say schemers because and what they're doing isn't necessarily illegal, but it is a scheme. It's unethical in many different ways.
Mhm.
But I think you only learn about ethics if you've been in business. There's
Right.
no ethics like in hustling. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if I'm out here hustling something, if I go to the swap meet and buy a watch for $5 and sell it to you for 50, like, and I'm hustling that way because you can go to the same place and buy the watch for 5,
Right.
but you bought it for me for 50. Like that's hustling. There's no ethics there. But in business, it's a little bit different, right? When you're running an actual business.
Mhm.
So is it more so that because people aren't as business savvy, like the average person isn't as business savvy in terms of like operations, that they don't fully understand ethics
Mhm.
when it comes to business practices. You know
Um,
what I'm saying?
Possibly, but I think that's a good way to let people off the hook. I think most people know from
You
right from wrong,
just want to
you
call
know.
everybody stupid. You just want to say everybody dumb so bad.
No, I think a good way to lead, to let people off the hook because I think most people know what they're doing, right? But they keep doing it because they want to achieve a certain goal that benefits them.
Yeah.
And if it does benefit them, even in the short term, they are successful. Now, I don't think it's any long term gain or success that's going to come from these small time scam schemes. Um, but I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, but yeah, scamming.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they be scamming. Yeah, so
Well, I think a lot of that also I think a lot of that has to do with like where we're at, um, in an economic sense, because if you tell someone like we both work in real estate, so
mhm,
our perspectives, um, being that we have over 14, 15 years in real estate, experience, our perspectives on like the markets are going to be different, right? So I remember in 2007, 2008, 2007, somewhere around that time, I had a conversation with a guy who, in the last 12 months, he had purchased like 300 and something homes,
mhm,
like single family. He was flipping them, right? 300 and something homes, and which was crazy, because I had just got started in real estate not long before that, um, and so to hear someone doing it on that level was like, wow, like
yeah,
you know. And I remember talking to him and just hearing his whole process and the way he talked about the markets and how things were crazy and where the prices were and how he wasn't really excited anymore to do any deals because of that. And
right,
time we're just getting started and it's like, well, all right, well if I had a client buy a home and now they have equity, like I don't know what you talking about. Like real estate is
right,
going, you know,
mhm, right,
going up because that's what it do. It goes up.
forever, right,
So, and to think about it now, when again, people come to you and say, "Well, can I buy this or should I buy this or what do you think about this?" And you're like, "Well, I don't know because of dot dot dot," or it doesn't really make sense. But then they go
right,
and do it, and it's like, "Well, I made 100 grand."
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like, I think again, going back to people not really being educated enough, and it's not. I'm not saying it as like a knock. Like, there's no way to do it. There's no way to learn the information unless you go through it.
yeah,
You know,
mhm,
you have to go through the cycles. So when you come back and tell someone the market is terrible and the fundamentals are messed up, and then but now they just made 100 grand,
right,
right? So I think that trickles down into like the hustle economy because
mhm,
right now I feel like the hustlers are winning. Like
Yeah.
now, it's the time of the hustlers, because if you can find a way to to squeeze money out of people or out of businesses, you'll do well right now because they have the
Yeah.
money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Beyond this point, I don't know if there's longevity in that,
No,
like you said.
no,
And
it's gonna be short term.
so when you're someone who's like, we can be kind of a contrarian in that sense because everybody's out here spending money and talking about starting businesses and doing all this other stuff. And then we're like, I don't know, like you might want to hold off on that. You might want to wait until this happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be seen as, again, going back to what we said, I think that could even be seen as like being a hater.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because someone's like, oh well, I'm gonna go and buy this house or I'm gonna go and buy this car, and you're like, well, I don't know if you should do that because because of whatever the reasoning, and
Right.
and they don't listen to you anyway. But and it's hard to for them to take that information anyway because of how it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's working right now, I'm not changing anything different.
That's
It's hard. It's hard to look outside yourself while you're living.
yeah.
It's hard, and especially if you're winning at that time. So it's definitely hard to be introspective on on your hustle that may not last. But like you said, if you've been through cycles, I think that just speaks to people who haven't been through cycles of of the economy. And
Mhm.
if you feel this, that's how I know it's an indicator that there's a lot of new money out here
Yeah.
because people are so comfortable with this short window of hustling where you can make money because everything's up, right? The stock market was booming a few weeks ago, right? Everything was green. Real estate, it seems like it's going to go up and have no end, and it's just not. This is just not the case. You know, we're very close to the end of a cycle, and I don't think it's sustainable.
Well,
I don't
it's not. This is the thing, right? So it goes into a conversation that we always end up having about cost and value. Everyone knows the price of something. Nobody knows the value, right?
think,
So if the Federal Reserve, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, has already said we're going to plan to keep rates low, interest rates
mm,
low, and I know um, for many people listening, that might not make or you might not fully understand what that means yet. But they're going to keep the cost of money cheap at the moment. So by doing so, it opens up the floodgates for people to borrow. So if you can borrow more money, you can afford more house or more car or more whatever because it's cheaper
or
to borrow money, right? But then we already know that if the economy accelerates so quickly to a certain point, the only way to kind of slow down spending is to what? Raise interest rates.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, healthy economy.
if rates are at historic lows right now at 2.5%, 3% to go and borrow a home, and then we get 3 or 4 years down the line from now, it might not even take that long, but let's just say 3 or 4 years down the line, and things are accelerating rather quickly. Um, the job markets have recovered to an appeasable level through stimulus or whatever. Uh, at what point are they going to say, all right, now we have to raise rates to slow things down because everything is too expensive? So if the rates go from if it's 3.25 right now for you to go and borrow money to go buy a house, and they raise rents or rates to like 6% to kind of stave off that growth, that just cut the value of your house in half,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think,
Or you pay,
I,
or how much house you can afford, or property.
well, yeah, I mean, but a house is only worth what someone will pay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I know everyone's situation is different. I'm not. This is why these conversations can be tricky because it's almost people kind of take it like if you buy a house, you're stupid, or um, you're telling them not to buy a house. It's not the case. Like it's just educating yourself on what goes into home values before you go and do that. Now, you can't help what economic time frame you're born into, or if you're ready to buy, then buy. Period.
Right.
You're going to be there for 20 or 30 years. A lot of this doesn't really apply in the first place. Um, what happens is when you're rushing yourself and you're buying into all these social narratives and all these other things to jump into something when you don't have to, right? Not knowing that on the back end the value is already there. They're going to raise rates. I keep saying rents. They're going to raise rates, and we know that because that's the only way to combat inflation. So if we know that, why would I pay the premium now? Why would I pay $1 million for something that's going to be worth $500,000 in 3 or 4 years, or $750,000? Like, why would I do that?
Yeah, it's housing is when you talk about real estate, housing is funny because the single family home is not just an investment, it's shelter. So it's hard to sometimes talk about it in just an investment aspect. Right? Because a typical person who wants to buy a house, what doesn't matter, they really don't care about what cycle it's in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask or say, is it a good time to buy? Or is it they usually say, is it a buyer's or seller's market, right? Now, if I say it's a seller's market, they all even say, well, it's not a buyer's market. It's not time to buy, right? But the reality is, based on your income and your credit, if you have the ability to buy now, you buy, right?
Yeah.
And because historically, if you make, let's say, $65,000, let's say $65,000 about the average income for people in California. That's in the Inland Empire, and it's a little bit higher in LA, right? I think in the IE is 59,000, and LA is like 64,000, right? So let's just go over that average. If the average person makes that amount of money and they qualify for this amount of house, go ahead and buy the house, because the last 5 years you haven't got a raise. So what makes you think the next 5 years you're gonna get a raise?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So as prices move past you year after year, you're gonna be priced out the market. So for that person, it doesn't matter if it's an up or down market. You got to think about your individual economics and say, if I make 64,000 a year, I'm not going to make. It's very unlikely that I'm going to make 150,000 in the next 2 years, right? It's just, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's improbable for you to do that.
The likelihood of it, absolutely.
You know? So that's one thing. So really, the narrative now is it's good to buy a house because interest rates are low. They're low as they've ever been, and yeah, that's true. But from an investment aspect, it's a little bit different. Like if you're buying apartment buildings or commercial real estate, all those analytical thinking comes into play because everyone doesn't need to own an 8-unit apartment building, 10-unit apartment building, or some type of retail strip center. No one needs to own that. So when you talk about economics, if I feel like, in 3 years, this might drop when interest rate goes up, you can wait. You can sit on the sideline and wait. That makes perfectly good sense. But if you like just a normal, regular people like most of us, you need to go and get in something.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I agree that and the main thing is, like, there's a huge conversation right now that's being had about, like, if one should buy, like, if you should buy a house or not.
Right.
And it's coming from some social media guys, but like that is a conversation that people are having, and I agree with you that if you're a person, especially if you don't do anything else, like you don't have a jump shot, You don't make number one albums or whatever. Like you don't do
Yeah.
anything that you don't have a special talent. You're just a regular person who makes a living the way that you do, and it's going to be that way. Then you can
Mhm.
absolutely secure a roof over your head. Number one, and two, lock in something that you can pass on to the next generation. Doesn't matter
Right.
what it is, it's something, right?
Yeah.
Like um, so I definitely agree with that. I think what happens is when everybody gets when like the market gets ahead of itself, right? And so people buy into, you know, what's happening. Like, oh,
Mhm.
well, like I was telling Vita earlier, like I know the market is ridiculous when you start seeing new home developments pop up in cities that you didn't even know existed.
Mhm. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
astronomical prices. Uh,
Right.
you'll see a new home development pop up somewhere in the middle of nowhere for starting at the low 600s, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, there's literally nothing there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
farmland. Like nobody who lives there makes enough money to buy a $600,000 house.
Yeah.
So and with
It's a lot of commuting.
yeah. And so it's like that type of stuff. Like, and so it's like, oh well, all these homes are gonna keep going up. It's gonna be worth whatever, right? And at that point, you have to really look into the economics. Like, well, what am I really getting into?
Yeah.
Am I doing this because I'm thinking it's just gonna pay off at a later date and be worth whatever? And even though I'm not gonna touch
Mhm.
the money, it's nice to know that it's worth whatever.
Yeah.
Or am I buying this to provide, like, to have a place to live and secure a fixed payment that me and my family can live on
Right.
comfortably and continue to build
Yeah.
until
Yeah. I was gonna say the exact same thing.
yeah.
Uh, the person who wants to buy, if there's like bragging rights for having a house that has X amount of equity,
Mhm.
right? I bought this house a year ago. Now I got $100,000 equity. I got $250,000 equity, and it's like, so what? So what? Like, it's literally money that's unusable, right? Because the only way to leverage that money is to refinance and pull cash out. So you
Mhm.
telling me that if you bought a house for 750,000 and you got in that house because you can afford it, um, how is it possible that 2 years later or so many years later, let's say it goes up to $1 million, then now you can afford $1 million mortgage
Yeah,
when you haven't got a pay raise, you haven't made any more money. So you're gonna leverage your house and refinance it now to $1 million and struggle to pay that payment, you
mhm,
know, or what a lot of people did in like 2008, 2009, pulled the money out right before the crash, because again they were taking advantage of their properties going up and low interest rates, pulled the money out, spent it, splurged it on whatever it was, right? Let's say the culture now is to start a business, right? Don't work for anybody else. So you pull money out of your house and start a business. You're not used to starting a business because you're not, you just don't have, the experience starting business. And if the business fails, the money's gone, right? Or you spend the money on paying down bills or buying a car or vacationing.
mhm,
Get back home, and now you still have $1 million uh, mortgage or $1 million balance, principal balance, and you don't have any money anymore. That's the easiest way to lose your house.
yep,
So like the culture of the whole, I guess bragging, I guess it's bragging rights that you have X amount of X. So what? It doesn't matter. Um, if you're an everyday person, you bought that house for shelter, and like you said, to pause rental increases, have a fixed payment, and most likely you're gonna either pay it off or, like you said, hand it down, which
mhm,
is a lot of residents in LA. They live in properties been handed down.
mhm,
Because over the last 30 years, they're not in positions to just buy, buy a house that to 20. 2021 market rates.
Yeah.
So
So, well, now that we've gone through like all these different things, like what would you say is some things that people can either practice or like, or position them or do to position themselves, like, what I'm saying, to move forward with either making that decision of buying a home or buying like rental property or whatever. Like what do you think um what do you think are some healthy practices in that regard?
I think that the healthiest practice is minding your business, minding your own business, and minding your own finances. So it's tough if when you live in an Instagram world and you open your feed and you start seeing how other people living, what they doing or what they buying.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best practice is to live within your means and buy what you own, or what you can afford. Um, People want now to buy something that's Instagrammable. It's not so much about the economics of the purchase or whatever it is. It's about buying something that's pretty to post, that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Um, the best advice I can give is mind your own business, mind your own finances, live below your means. And um, yeah, I think that's the best advice I can give.
No, I mean,
What
agree.
would you say?
I would agree. I mean, I would say I would kind of say the same thing. Just uh, live below your means and do your best to try and expand them. Like
Mm,
recognize. I think one thing that was really helpful for me in general was understanding my place, like my place in like in the world.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Understanding like I'm not on a TV show, like nobody's watching me. I don't
mm-hmm.
have to. Certain things don't have to be the way that you would think they do, because there's no one I have to report to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just understanding, like I think we talked about it before. Like a lot of people don't realize that, or they don't want to admit to themselves at least that, like, you know, they're not they're not rich.
Yeah.
Like, like
Right.
no, like relax, be
Right.
like,
It's a lot of that. It's a lot of people aren't living their actual realities.
yeah.
They're living the fantasy that they actually built for themselves.
Well,
Uh,
did they build it, or is it something that's culturally being propagated? Like, because I think I posted something on Instagram the other day, and I forgot what it was. It was something to do with something. I can't even remember. But P Minty, shout out P Minty, he
Shout them out.
actually he commented, like he wrote me in the DMs, like, it was something about consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, consumerism is always like the culture. The difference is um, wealthy people have the money to do it, right?
Right.
And he,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, like hip hop culture went in the direction of just literally throw your money away,
Right.
So it was like, well, you have to be able to, don't feel like you can't enjoy yourself or have your moments, of consumerism, right?
Right.
Just because the rules of like hip hop, you know, you don't agree with the rules of hip hop basically.
Right. Right.
And I know that sounds very elementary, but for some reason, like that does set the standard. Like when you see, like, I have friends, or when you see people, and they project that they're doing well by looking a certain way and acting a certain way. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, the only way that a black man can be seen as successful is if he's a rapper, even if he doesn't rap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that's the perception. Like I have to be a rapper
Mm-hmm.
in order to
So.
be as a success or accepted socially as a success. I have to be a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to, it's I would say from where we come from, 'cause we share similar backgrounds. Um, that's the reality.
Mhm.
But now I'm starting to learn, or I try not to say too much, this is how it is because black people, da da da, right? Or the common phrase, the common phrase is, one of them is, well, we don't know about X, Y, and Z because they never let us, you
Mhm.
know, we never did it. So I try to get away from I don't know, just making like a singular point on how black people are, right, or
Mhm.
why it is where it is. So this is what I believe. Um, I believe, yes, you have to, and it's not just rap. It's not just rap. You have to project what, in the marketing world, you have to project what you want people to see, right? So if I say that I'm a strawberry farmer and I don't have any strawberries, I'm not a strawberry farmer, right? That's just simple,
Mhm.
simple math.
I'm following.
If if I say I'm a success and I don't show the things of success that people are used to seeing, like cars, clothes, and jewelry, I am not that thing,
Is that
right?
success though?
No, no,
You don't
it's
have to be. You don't have to be rich to waste your money.
yeah. See, the thing is, we know it's two things. It's reality, like we know the reality, right? I'm comfortable with living the reality of how things work, but I can't also discount the perception that's also part of my reality around me.
Yeah.
So I can act like, if I don't pull up and whatever, that this person may not perceive me as a person who they can do business with,
Hmm.
right? It's part of my reality. So for a long time, I it's part of society, like a society reality, right? Because I live in my real reality, but I also know societal reality and how people think, right? Like in the psychology of if you look this way, that's how it is, right? Whether you do or not.
Hmm.
So um so what oh so I said that to say, yes, if you look like if you got the chains, the choke chains, whatever the new stuff is now, there's a Cuban links. If you got the Cuban links, right? If I go to Instagram and you stand in front of
No,
Mercedes,
no, man.
you know,
You sound mad old. You
right? I
sound
know.
like you're 70 years. Like what is it called? The
if you
links.
got the rope, if you got the rope chain, um,
That's funny.
if you got those things, right? Or now, if you took a picture with those things, that's what it is, right? Which is the Instagram digital world, right? Um, the digital world is going to be crazy because this is going to be like real life avatar. You can have whatever you want. Right now, it's just I can put the jacket on, right? Whatever brand it is, or put the jewelry on, take a picture of it and post it, and that's my life. Because nobody knows. They're not gonna show up, right? It's like
Mhm.
the old saying of like, I'm gonna buy a car because nobody can see me in my house. You know, I heard somebody say, that's why you always see people doing all these videos in their car, or outside in the world because they don't have no house, right?
Uh,
Or the place they live, they can't go because it's, I don't know, it might be all kind of stuff there,
yeah.
maybe
That's
phobic
marketing.
mamas and kids. It's like they don't want their actual reality to clash with their digital reality or their digital perception of themselves. So it's gonna be interesting to see because it's gonna be like, I think in the future you'll have like you're already seeing it, like digital art, right? That you're gonna be able to like buy digital art and put it in your digital space with your digital avatar. You're gonna be able to wear all kind of different clothes, hats, jewelry, whatever. And then when people log on and see that, like, oh, okay, like you own. because it's going to take real money to buy those things.
This is why, and we could touch on this briefly before we wrap up, but this is why I don't really buy into like the whole Bitcoin and all this other like nah, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Um, if I miss out on an opportunity, I'm fine with that. There's other ways to make money. Like
Yeah, I'm not a futurist at all. I'm like, no.
like that don't to me like it literally makes it doesn't make sense. Even this whole like I can't even really like try and put the words together because it's like it's just I'm trying not to say it's a bubble,
Right.
but it feels a lot like a bubble. It's feeling real bubbly around here because
Right.
I seen somebody sell because the new thing is the NFTs, right? Like you just said, the digital art. And I just seen
NFT.
somebody sell a skin graft or so like a piece of skin off of their body via and
What?
yeah, and it was sold for like I don't even want to say the wrong thing, but it sold for too much money. Okay, it's, it sold for too much money, and
Right.
at that point, it's like yo, we're doing things with money for the sake of like for sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not even about
Yeah.
actual fundamentals. It's not even about values. It's about, we're just doing things because we have the money
Yeah.
to do it. Like that's not
Well,
that's
I think it's part of the projection of I can spend this much money on skin, like a person's skin. Like, what did that say about the person who bought it? So now you get to, you get to build these narratives of that person who bought it. And now, what if that person who's so rich they can buy skin for for X amount of dollars, whatever it is, any amount is too much to buy skin, a person's skin, for one. But what does that say about the person who's able to make that type of purchase, right? Now, we talking about social proofing. What can that person now do to, I don't know, forge some whatever narrative they want in their lives? I don't know if they want to be a skin god. Now they hashtag skin god.
man.
And,
I'm not a believer, man. I'm not a believer in this whole like it's like all the digital currency and then the well, let me rephrase that. I believe in digital currency. I believe in the blockchain technology. I understand there are many use cases for it. What I'm not a believer in is one Bitcoin, um, and I don't believe that these things have that amount of value. Like there's no way. Okay, so how do you calculate the value? Is
I
it, is,
don't know.
is it the greater
There's
fool? Is it the greater fool theory? Meaning I bought it for this much, and a greater fool is going to pay me more for it later. Like is that it? That's gambling.
Yeah, it has to be, because there's no like, okay, we used to live by like the gold standard, right? Where a certain amount of gold um, in a reserve for so many dollars. Now that's been wiped away,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or gold standard. So um, it's really based on your belief that this dollar, this US dollar, will buy, a gallon of milk. Well, it won't, because a gallon of milk is a lot more. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say $5, right? This $5 can buy a gallon of milk. If I believe that that's true, and people around me believe that's true, then it's true. We have a shared perception that this $5 bill can buy this gallon of milk, so it makes it true.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that.
With Bitcoin, I think it possibly be the same thing. Now, when people say this is going to be the new currency, no, you would have to convince everybody who actually has all the money and currency to then trade over to Bitcoin.
Exactly.
I don't see that happening. Why would I trade in my billions of dollars for, like, I'm good,
Well,
don't
they're saying
don't
that
well,
because they believe and there's a real case for that the dollar will crash, right? It'll be worthless. So you have to find something else to have a certain store of value, which would be Bitcoin, to then take over in place of that.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, they all crash. We didn't always have US dollars as a currency. We had coins and shekels. And so, yeah. You know
Yo,
what
imagine going to the store like, yo, how many shekels?
I'm saying?
How many shekels is this? I'm gonna buy a pair of
You have
shekels.
to buy pirate ship with shekels. You know, they
You
weren't
know,
gonna
that's
take
what we should
it
do.
away.
We should start our own crypto and call it shekels. That's what we should do.
Why not? Why not? It's like if enough people believe in it, it is what it is. You know, because if you think about it, well, I guess gold would be like, I guess it'd be like a finite resource. It's only so many. It's only so much gold.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, that's stupid too. How is gold affordable? Like, why is it worth anything? If I'm a person and I need, food, water, and shelter, why is gold worth something? Right. So you can literally replace gold, shekels, dollars, Bitcoin for anything. You can say, I'm going to trade you 10 Teletubbies for your shirt.
But see, like, so that's my argument, right? It's like, okay, well, what makes Bitcoin like the thing? Like, if we are like, I understand because that's their argument, right? Their argument is, well, all this shit is made up anyway. What difference does it make? But I feel
Yeah.
like if you're just gonna throw in some made up coin, that opens the door to throw in anything.
Yeah. Well, as I understand, there's multiple coins, right?
Yeah, but none of them have. There's really only like
None
two.
of them have, right?
Yeah, that have like a real backing at becoming some form. Like I can buy a house, I can buy a car, I can buy all these things with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I can't do the same
Mm-hmm.
with like, all these
Got
other coins. Yeah.
it. A Dogecoin or whatever.
So I mean, and I know there's going to be a bunch of crypto guys who are going to be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And and
Well,
I'm fine with that. And maybe we'll have someone on the show who can really like break it down. But I just don't.
yeah.
I don't understand the fundamentals that goes into like no one can explain it. Everybody will tell you like I believe in the tech, but the tech is not the coin. So everyone will always say, well, just buy it because it's going up, or the technology is so important to. Yes, that's the tech. I'm not talking about the tech. I'm talking about the coin. Why is the coin $60,000? Why? Why is it worth? Tell me why it's worth $60,000. Like
Yeah.
explain that. Why would I give you 60 grand for you to give me a bunch of numbers on a piece of paper?
Because the blockchain, it's the future.
But that's the tech. Like, why not just buy a blockchain company? Why not just buy the stock?
Mm-hmm.
If I can have equity in the company versus like going to buy one 500th of a Bitcoin because like nobody's gonna go and buy like a whole Bitcoin like that.
Right, right.
The average person's gonna go and buy $100 worth.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
going up, you know what I mean? So
I think it comes down to if more people believe in it, it is what it is. I was thinking the other day, I was like likes on social media. What if they decided like not to make it a like and made it like a unicorn? You'd be like, oh, I got 50 unicorns. It's like, this is stupid. It's all stupid. you know, it's all made up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. But if most people believe in it, you get up and you say, I posted a picture and they got, you know, you know, on average, my pictures get, let's say they get 500 likes and now I got 100 likes. People really feel bad about that.
yeah.
It literally affects them. So what is that? What does that say about like our psychology and how our minds work? If I don't get enough unicorns on my picture, then I now feel bad about myself. So I mean, it's like they say, perception is reality. So I don't know. I don't know how far it's gonna go, but I don't care. Because I'm a utility guy. Like that's not gonna work for me.
Yeah.
You know. Um, I don't plan to be here long enough for it to play out. Maybe 200 years, maybe they will be trading Bitcoin or using Bitcoin to buy things. But hopefully I'm dead and gone.
I mean,
But
you can do that now, but the reality is you have to convert it to like fiat, like to regular currency.
right.
Or that process has to take place at some point. Like I have I have a so full transparency, I do have some Bitcoin, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I have a BitPay card that I don't use it. I never have, but you can just swipe it like a debit.
Mhm.
So I can load it up with Bitcoin and use that as money. But it still has to change into money in order for that transaction to work.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll get somebody on here to
Yeah.
figure
I
it
don't
out.
even know how we start talking about Bitcoin and currencies.
But
I think it still leads into like the perception of things, rather it's on social media, what you're wearing, what you have, and what you possess. I think in some ways it does make, to some people, it does make it true.
mhm.
But if you're a person that doesn't buy into it, rather it's Bitcoin or someone, you know, giving you the perception that they are rich or wealthy, it work on you. So you're just an outlier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, now that we've gotten these, we can go ahead and wrap it up because I know we've been at it for a minute. But uh, so now that we've gotten these few episodes out, um, I do think we should probably touch on uh, more onto, at least at some point, like the stock market, real estate, etc.
Mhm.
Um, that way people can um, learn how the processes work, and maybe
Right.
that'll help them better understand or give them a better lens to identify who's real and who's not when they're out looking in the world. I don't.
Right.
The whole point of this was not to make, uh, not to be like a podcast or a space to bash people who make money by selling you fraudulent information. Like, but we definitely want to make sure people learn something that they can use. It's practical information, and it won't cost them thousands of dollars. And they won't get won over by people who want to charge them thousands of dollars for stuff that is just basic information.
Right. I'm fine with that. I like if we can have an archive of I don't know, whatever it is, like how stocks work or how to buy a house or how to buy investment real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I feel like this. I heard somebody say anything that I put out is free information, right? Um, I'll give you, I can provide free resources that you can use and go on your own and do your own thing. But when it comes to consulting, like you want to call me or be in my DM,
Mm-hmm.
like how do I do this? Um, there's a fee for that
Yeah, that's
because
different.
you know, any time that I'm away from the fam or from the kids is that's not productive, literally takes from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I started thinking of it that way. So even like for um, the credit repair portion of the brokerage, I was like, for a long time, I was like, I know we wrapping up, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
you know, and and then it kicks into where, well, there's a lot of community that don't know about how this works,
Mm-hmm.
right? So feel some type of responsibility, right? Um, so I'm going to start. I think it is important for us to start sharing this information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Free resources that you can get, you can do on your own, and you can be very successful. Because my whole thing is, I want you to be successful. I don't want to do this over and over again. I don't want to be the person that's waving the flag of this is how you fix your credit, this is how you buy a house. The things I teach people, I want them to then teach, whoever else, and that'd be good forever. It's like even with the credit portion, the credit report portion of brokerage, where we only set it up to show people how to buy a house, right? Show people how to buy a house. We can take care of their credit and get them in a house. That was the only reason, right? I wasn't taking any outside clients that wasn't buying houses. I was
Mm-hmm.
only doing personal clients. And I told them, I don't want to do this again. Like, you don't need to, like, I don't want you to come to me next year, like, hey, I messed up, no, you're denied from the program. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm not in the business of rest servicing the same people over and over because you didn't messed up. Well, I know people make mistakes, but that's not the point. You know, the
Yeah.
point is to take a hold of information and grow with it. So if, let's say, a 13-year-old person in middle school can get some type of information else that they can then grow into something else, I'm for that. Like, I love that. That's what I'm for. Or somebody that's 50, 55 and just retiring, they attach onto this new information, they can grow from that.
Mhm.
Like, that's the perfect scenario. But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
I don't
I don't
want
want to be the guy about this all the time. I don't know. I just don't. I
I
just
don't think it'll be in like a classroom style setting. Like for me, it's most important to just have it like to be able to speak openly about it, to just enlighten people on like the process of things. Not really like a, not like a, here, get your pen and pad out, and we're gonna look at
yeah
this or that. Like, I feel like that style of information can be accessed in many different places for free on
yeah
YouTube. You know what I
yeah
mean?
for sure.
But sharing your perspective and explaining why certain things work the way that they do and how it applies, I think I think there's more value in that, especially when you're speaking about it candidly. Um,
Yeah
I think there's more value in that. So I mean, I don't want to I don't like I said I don't want to make it like a classroom setting, but I do
yeah
think maybe we can, if not the next episode, or down the line sometime, we can touch on like especially with what's popular right now with the stock market, we can
mhm,
touch on like how to approach that situation, like
right.
what's actually happening, what are you doing when you buy stocks, like that type of stuff, and then get into
Yeah, I think that'll work. And then we just say, hey, if you're interested in that information about stocks or real estate, you can go to episode 4. That's where it is. you know,
yeah.
you know, episode we talked about that in episode 56.
Yeah.
Or what there's a glossary you can go to, and you can pick and go to that episode, and that information is there for you.
Yeah,
You know, but
I'm gonna do that, especially since you're someone who just getting, you're just kind of getting acclimated with the markets in a way where you're active, you know. So,
yeah,
and even in just this short time with you doing that, I think people would appreciate hearing your story and hearing about your journey in discovering and learning a new discipline.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been what, 2 months?
yeah, which is crazy.
End of January. Uh, End of January, yeah.
Mhm.
I was talking to somebody else in the group. It's like, I thought y'all were pros. I'm like, no, that would never claim to be a pro or
Yeah,
an expert.
yeah,
I know a little bit about a little bit and a lot about some more, but I don't complain about, I don't confess to be an expert because you can't be. It's just almost so much to learn. It's so much to learn. So
I look at it like, man, there's people who have made billions of dollars doing this.
yeah,
How can I call myself an expert if I haven't made billions of dollars?
yeah,
So, that I can't be. I tell
mhm,
people all the time, I don't have the answers. Like,
right,
I don't have all the answers, but
right,
I've practiced enough, I've studied enough to be able to help you, bypass many mistakes that I've made.
right. And that's important. I think that's what most people want. Um, in this age of digital information or information in general, I think the most beneficial thing people are going to need is someone to condense the information and put it in a nice package for them to consume.
Hmm.
Um, because the reality is that people don't want to go down the rabbit holes. It's going to take, um, hours and hours or years and years or decades to attain this information. And, we just do that because that's part of the way we learn.
Hmm.
So I'm okay with saying, hey, I dug this up and here it is. If you want it, you know, take this and go be great. you know, I think there is value in that. And I think that's the direction of where we're going.
Yeah.
And if that's also backed up by someone who is going to be ethical about it, and it's from some people, it's from a source that people can trust, I think that's solid.
Yeah.
And from yeah, so I think that's cool.
All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that, man. So we can go ahead and we can wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for taking time to listen to us. Hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah.
Rich by Monday. You know, I know we went off on a tangent a few times, but that's what we do. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so like and
Work hard
subscribe,
at work.
and we look forward to next week.
Yep. See you next week.